let's say that your purpose, that you ultimately you don't have a purpose. That's my belief, okay? That's my belief. We talked about this in an earlier show. We said, perhaps there is a purpose out there for you in life, and we called it your destiny, and that you should go and find it, okay? So there's one belief system that there is a purpose or a destiny out there for me, and that my job is to go find it. That's one category of belief. The other category of belief is, on the other end of the spectrum, is there is no particular purpose in life, and it is up to me to define that purpose and to not discover, but create it or cause it, and then live my life accordingly. So that's another point of view. And then I guess a combination of the two might be that if there was many purposes that one could live one's life for or about, might there be one that's best for you? It's not that this question has an answer, okay? Some questions are more powerful than any answer that you could ever give them. Sometimes the question is more powerful, and the answer just diminishes the power or the motivation behind the question. I'm not avoiding that question, how does one find one's purpose? I am offering that maybe you should consider first what you believe about your purpose. Do you believe that there's one out there and you're going to go find it? Because the question indicates that you think there is, that there's a purpose that you've got to find, and so you'll spend your whole life looking for this purpose, and you may or may not find it. There are an infinite number of purposes that one could live one's life for, and there are some that might be better suited for you and some that are better suited for me, you see? And that what's even more important is to find out who I am, okay? And what's more important is to find out who you are. So how does one find out who one truly is? And again, that's something that you distinguish. In order to find your purpose, you might need to first distinguish your terms. Now, distinguish. Distinguish means to select from the infinite number of possibilities those which you choose. Ultimately, you choose, okay? One of my favorite musicians, when they ask him how he composes, a German guy that plays every instrument in the orchestra, and when he records a piece of music, he lays the track down once. He doesn't do multiple tracks. So he'll play the French horns, then the drums, then the violins, then the piano, and all the keyboards. And when people say, well, how do you do that? He said, I simply distinguish specific sounds from the infinite mass of sounds that are always going on. All of that thing that you call music is always out there, all of those sounds and notes and everything, and I just pull them into and play them on the instrument. So I say that as an example. There is an infinite number of possible ways that you and I could live our life. See, I believe that your real purpose in life is to make a difference for others. That's what I believe. That's what I live by. That's what I teach. And that's what I know when I've been with thousands of human beings. When you get right down to the bottom of their soul and you uncover all of their stuff and you get past all of their trauma and their victimization and their sadness and their grief and their hopes and their dreams and their phony expectations and just all the stuff that people have, when you get down to the very bottom of it, what's really, really there is I love you. I love you, and I want to make a difference with you. Okay? That's what's there for people. You know, it's always there. Let's say that there are millions of little points of light in the world, and some of them are square, and some of them are round, and some of them are triangles, and there's, you know, all these little things that are possible ways that you could live your life. Okay? That's the random and capricious universe full of possibilities. Some good ones and some bad ones, some that are perfect for you and some that you would not do well at. Right? They wouldn't make you happy. Let's just say you're one of these, or maybe you're this one, okay? If you just go around living your life, the universe will give you your purpose, otherwise known as your fate, okay? Yes. You will have an undistinguished life, not distinguished from all of the rest of the possible stuff that's out there. To begin to find your purpose, you need to begin to determine what I call your terms. Like, remember I referred to terms of a contract,
Yes.
right? You say, I'm going to live my life this way, and I'm not going to live my life that way, right?
Yep.
I'm going to live a healthy life, which means I'm not going to smoke,
Yes.
right? Or whatever, right?
Yes.
I'm going to surround myself with beauty and with people who love beauty and goodness and truth and health, and I'm not going to be around people that don't like that stuff,
Yes.
right? And so I will, by exponentially increase my chances of living the life that I've chosen. Now, was that life yours to live? Well, yes and no. It was always part of the infinite possibilities out there, right?
Yes.
And then along with it, right next to it sometimes, and sometimes interfering with it, will be things that are not that, the opposite of that, right? So if you say, I'm going to live a life of truth,
Yeah.
and you start focusing on whatever is truly true, what will begin to show up immediately is all the things that are not true. You'll be able to see a lie a mile away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When you become committed to truth, then anything that's not that is blaringly obvious, right?
Yes.
If you become committed to beauty, I don't know, it could be beautiful people, beautiful flowers, beautiful scenery, beautiful cars, whatever, right? Beauty, anything that's beautiful makes you happy. What shows up?
Anything that are not beautiful.
Yeah, all the ugliness of life is
Yeah.
all over the place, right? All of a sudden, and you got work to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got work to do in your house, in your glove compartment, in your closet, right?
Yeah.
There's on your face.
Yeah.
There's always things that are not beautiful to work on, right? Is beauty or truth the only way to see life?
No.
Of course not. It's just the one you choose,
Yeah.
right? So, out of all of the random and capricious ways that you could see life, you chose, let's call this one over here, oh, I find this is beautiful, right? I like beauty. And this, we're just making up that this one means beauty, right? And then over here, you look over there, because you're standing in, oh, I like that, I like beauty, then you like, look, that's beautiful too, right? So you begin to attract things that are what you're standing for. You are always attracting to and are being surrounded by the things that you are committed to and the things that you're standing for. And along with it comes some other stuff,
Yeah.
some junk, some interference, some frequency, some white noise,
Yeah.
right? That comes along with it. As long as you keep standing for committed but not,
Attached.
yes, committed but not attached, then that stuff won't interfere with you. It's just there. In other words, you can just let that stuff be there. So one of the ways to begin to organize yourself is to determine what it is, and by determine, the word term is in there, right? You begin to distinguish your terms. So your terms are what you're standing for and what you will not stand for. One way of organizing your life is this way, okay? There's a random capricious thing. You begin to attract, you distinguish what you're all about, and then you begin to attract other things like it. And this one over here, so let's just say these are people, okay? And this person here is connected to 1,000 people. So I could draw 1,000 lines out, and those people are connected to 1,000 people, and each of those are connected to 1,000 people, and this one's connected to 1,000,000 people, and this one's connected to 1,000,000 people. And guess what? You begin to live in a world in which the distinction and the possibility that you're standing for so overwhelms what is opposite of that it does not stand a chance. They've done they've done a lot of tests on neurofeedback, okay? And when they hook up sensors to your brain and to your body, and they feed the subject empowering words, beauty, goodness, truth, happiness, love, right? the sensors go off, and it sets off vibrations in the brain, which bring up vibratory resonances that are in relationship to those words and images. Okay, and they register, let's say, 30 on a scale of 100, right? They're just sitting there having images in your mind, and your brain is going on a positive level. Then they will start feeding in negative, dark words, which I'm not going to do right now. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to program people's brains, right? But they'll figure in the opposite of those words, and they'll register like 8, 7 or 8. The frequency is so low that 1,000 bad thoughts hardly measure up to 5 or 6 good ones. So when I say they don't stand a chance, I literally mean that they don't stand a chance. But if you focus on the negative in life, if you watch the evening news and you just always are focusing on all the bad things that are happening in the world, and of course there's an abundance of bad things happening in the world, then I suggest that you spend an equal amount of time, if not obviously more, focusing on the things that empower you, focusing on the positive things, and more specifically, and this is where your terms come in, on those things that you are going to do about making life a better life for yourself and for others. If it's just for yourself, you will soon tire of that. Trust me, I've lived long enough and I've been selfish enough and done enough things for myself to find out that at the end of the day, you're still not satisfied, because you realize that, so what if I have everything that I ever wanted? So what? It doesn't make any difference. I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. That's why you see a lot of wealthy people who do away with themselves or whatever, who go about destroying their lives, because they've worked their entire life to achieve something for themselves that made no difference ultimately. And so back to my belief, I believe that people ultimately want to make a difference. There's, again, using that little funny chart of random and capricious universe, right, with little things in it, all these different possibilities. Now, if you can imagine, this might be a 3-dimensional thing, and each one is actually moving in its own direction, going wherever it's going. All possible ways that you may see or use the brief flicker of moment that's your life. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm saying there's various ways that you can begin to organize your life. So the one I showed you earlier is about becoming a hub. In other words, becoming someone that attracts to you the people and things and circumstances and resources that will fulfill your life. Now, sometimes people are more left brain, okay? And so they might want to start off doing this. Now, this is a very rudimentary kind of way of doing things, but let's say that this is A, B, C, D, and this is like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so forth, right? And you could say, well, you know what? I'm particularly attracted to this right here, right? Which means that all these other things may or may not be included, but then you begin to find relationships with how these things may interact with the particular area of life that you're concerned about. I could go on and make various charts, but if for those of you who do charts with your business to figure out your finances or things like that, right? So some people that might be, for example, if I was going to go, okay, well, I want a level 2 of finances and a level 3 of relationships, right, and so forth. This could be, this ABC and 1, 2, 3 is just various categories of life. It could be health, beauty, finance, relationships, making a difference, I would hope would be one of these little squares for you, right? And so you begin to organize your life around the things that light you up, turn you on, get you excited, make you want to get up and get started during the day, things that you would do for free anyhow, just because they're an expression of who you are. Survival has no self-expression in it. There's no possibility, there's no self-expression, there's no joy in those things that are survival-oriented, and you can always tell when something is only survival-oriented because Its main purpose is to make you feel safe, or to have you be right, or avoid being dominated or threatened in any way. And even, if it's about the accumulation of wealth or the accumulation of friends, that's another form of just trying to feel secure or better about yourself so that you don't feel threatened. When you are living your purpose, when you've found that thing that lights you up and turns you on and gets you excited, you won't even know how to do it. It'll be so big that it'll scare you, and you'll be frightened, and you would be willing to try and fail. Most people aren't willing to try and fail, to go out and do their best, and to fail at this thing that they're committed to, and to get back up and to keep doing it. See, if you're not passionate about it, the first time you get knocked down, you'll stay down. If it's not something that really is calls to you from the inside. I talked in an earlier show about, you get goosebumps, you get those tingles in your scalp, right? Your heart beats, and you kind of break out into a sweat or something, right? You have a physical reaction. I believe that is your soul's way of calling you forth. That is your future calling you forward. That's how it communicates with you. That's how the subconscious communicates, through words and images and body sensations. And, a lot of people, just to bring it back to relationships, a lot of people confuse those feelings with the natural biochemical feelings you have when you're with somebody that you have a chemistry with, or you're sexually attracted to, the very similar feelings, right? So that's why a lot of people, when they are physically attracted to someone, think that they're in love and they're the one, and I'm going to spend my whole life with them, and this is my future, because it feels a lot the same.
She asked, I have achieved one of my biggest goals in my life, and now I'm wondering if there is any other major goal there still for this time reincarnation, and if there is, how can I find it and listen to it without interfere of the mind?
So if that is actually a very good question, because I've had that same question in my own life, where I've achieved goals that were beyond even my original goal, and things turned out so well that it was like, now what? Right? And I believe that there is a time to sit with yourself and really begin to listen to, because that voice, or we say it's a voice, right? That voice that's calling, or that feeling, that tingly thing that wants to call you forward, is not loud. It's not a loud voice. It's a quiet voice, so you have to be quiet. And I believe that one of the things that disturb how many musical geniuses have we seen who wrote one or two maybe albums, several great songs, and had a couple of hits, and then where are they now? Right? They achieved their highest dream, their greatest goal, and then they didn't know where to go from there. It's important that you have the humility. I believe it takes humility. Some people may say, well, that's ego, but no, I believe it's the opposite. It takes humility to stop and go, what have I learned from this? What have I gathered? Is this the best that I can do? Can I be satisfied with this? Not am I satisfied, but can I be satisfied with what I've accomplished? What have I gathered that calls me forward even more? And again, I would refer back to my own life, because that's all I've got is my own experience. I didn't learn this in college or something. I learned it from life. Okay? I accomplished goals that I had set out for myself as a singer and songwriter. Now, I didn't become the super famous singer-songwriter that I thought that I would be when I was in my teenage years, but then I was no longer a teenager. So the me of today, back then, the 20-year-old me had a different set of values and standards and a different view about the world. And so I had to look at it from there, not as a teenager. I was no longer 16 years old. at each stage in life, I think it's important to stop and go, all right, I did that. I can be fulfilled by that. What is calling me now? And something will call you if you honestly ask this question. Something will call you forward, and you will find that everything that you've done up to that point, those goals that you say you've achieved, gave you the ground to stand on to see it further into a deeper future. So that's my answer to that. Stop, listen, gather yourself, and then, it's hard to, if you're at the top of a ladder, it's hard to be at the bottom of the next ladder, which is where you'll be when you step off of your high spot. You'll be at the bottom of the next spiral of life.